Hello, my name is Jennifer Stewart-Mitchell. The purpose of my inquiry project is to explore what does it mean to teach through social justice in the middle years. Years ago, I stumbled upon an essay about Craig Kielburger called Free the Children. This essay became a catalyst for a cross-curricular unit where my students learned about injustice, equality, human rights, activism, and engaged in service projects. But I always wondered, was a unit on social justice and a service project to raise money for a school in Kenya enough to transform my grade 7s into lifelong activists? The purpose of my research was to explore the following questions. What is the role of the educator in a classroom based on the principles of social justice? And how can social justice principles be integrated into curriculum and reach all students at the middle years level? In this presentation, we will examine the overlapping integrated approach of social justice education, my personal connections to the topic, the 8 essential principles, the criticisms, and why educators should consider integrating social justice education. Social justice education is more than just service projects and reading articles about global issues. According to Dover, teaching for social justice is an integrated, pedagogical, ideological, and curricular approach. Its implementation requires that teachers encourage all students to be participants in knowledge construction, have high expectations for students and themselves to foster learning communities, acknowledge, value, and build upon students' existing knowledge, interests, cultural, and linguistic backgrounds, teach academic skills to bridge gaps in student learning, work in partnership with students' families and communities, critique and employ multiple forms of assessment, explicitly teach about activism, power, and inequity in schools and society. Why is my focus on teaching through social justice at the middle years level? Middle years students are naturally concerned with what's fair and equality, and would be able to grasp getting to the root of social problems. It is important to foster critical investigation at this age. In my own grade 7-8 classroom, I have made efforts to integrate teaching for social justice and have personally observed the impact it has on engaging and motivating students to examine issues critically. Last year, students designed a community that highlighted inclusion and diversity. My students also engaged in a global citizens project, allowing them to examine diverse points of view through the eyes of a UN peacekeeper and citizens of Southern Sudan. But I still felt that there is still more to teaching social justice. In order to facilitate teaching through social justice, incorporating pedagogy, ideology, and curriculum, 8 principles need to be taken into consideration. In the following slides, I have adapted and expanded upon Wade's principles for social justice education. The first principle, student-centered, means create an open classroom community where students feel their input is valued and respected. This means the decentralization of the teacher's voice, which would allow for curriculum to be built upon students' interests, ideas, and backgrounds. The second principle, collaborative, allows for opportunities for students to collaborate with each other and the community to solve problems, mediate conflicts, and create change. In encouraging collaboration and dialogue between all members in the community, there is a blurring of the role of the teacher and the learner. Through active participation in the community and school, or the experiential principle, ideas and key concepts can be experienced in engaging ways, thereby allowing students to become active participants in learning. With the intellectual principle, students delve into challenging content as they apply skills and knowledge of curriculum to real life. Different subject areas can benefit from critical investigation from a social justice lens. As students critique societal norms and underlying assumptions in the analytical principle, they consider whose voices are left out. This means engaging in discussion or debate, questioning, and then exploring ways to affect change. The multicultural principle goes beyond culture and focuses on inclusion of all, such as cultural groups, religious beliefs, physical abilities, gender, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic situations, basically ensuring the mainstream view is not the only one heard. Every decision has a value base, and multiple perspectives are informed by different values. The value-based principle encourages teaching the importance of understanding diverse points of view. With this last principle, students take on the role of activists, which means critiquing status quo and working for social change. Teachers would facilitate opportunities for students to work for social justice. Why wouldn't an educator want to teach through social justice? Why would there be criticisms? What are they? The first criticism: social justice education just concentrates on touchy-feely goals and short-changes learning. The reality is social justice education builds on student knowledge and skills, promotes critical thinking, expands on worldviews, and maintains high expectations. This approach also focuses on reaching all students, especially those who are marginalized or at risk. The second criticism: social justice education does not prepare students for standardized tests. The reality is, with a focus on diving deep and inquiring into multiple points of view and critical thinking, there is increased rigor. Plus, by incorporating students' interests, backgrounds, and ideas, or practice based on making connections, there is increased student motivation, which improves learning and positively impacts standardized test results. The third criticism: education should be neutral or value-free. The reality is, there is never value-free teaching. Choosing curriculum is a value judgment. What you teach and how you teach shows what you value. So by avoiding social issues in teaching, there are no opportunities to challenge inequity, which can perpetuate racism, sexism, classism, and inequality. It is also important that educators model reasoned inquiry for their students. Teaching through social justice is not the same as teaching about social justice, as it requires an integrated approach of student-focused pedagogy, ideology rooted in equality, and curriculum which investigates the root causes of problems, and of course, how to activate social change. Although it might take a little more training on how to integrate and implement social justice principles into curricula, plus a commitment to activism, teaching through social justice at the middle years means fostering empathy, compassion, valuing diversity, challenging assumptions, and committing to make a difference, which indicates that teaching through social justice is really just good teaching.